networking to uplift each other in all areas of life. Hello, this is Dr. Wilise Richey, and I'm broadcasting to you from sunny St. Augustine, Florida. We are on Blog Talk Radio, and welcome to Maslow Woman Live.
Hello, friends, and thank you for tuning in. I'm going to invite you to take advantage to call in with your job search questions and comments. The number is 347-884-8048. Hit number 1 if you want to comment and speak on the show, or hit 2 if you just want to listen. You're listening to Reinventing Yourself in Today's Job Market, Part 2. I'm your host, Wilise Richey, and joining me today are my co-hosts, Betsy Hayes and Tori Terhune. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They are the authors. If you recall, Betsy was one of our leading ladies about a month ago, and she introduced her book. She and Tori wrote a book called Land Your Dream Career, 11 Steps to Take in College, which it was such a resounding response from the Reinventing Yourself in Today's Job Market 1 and Betsy's leading ladies interview that I asked Betsy and Tori if they would consider coming on the show and basically doing a follow-up for Reinventing Yourself in Today's Job Market. So thank you, ladies, for coming in.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
All right, before we go further, let me give the audience the number one more time. It is 347-884-8048. Call in. We'll be happy to take your questions. And basically, I'm going to turn over and let the ladies talk about the main points that they want to bring up concerning the job search process. So take it away, ladies.
Sure. Okay, well, this is Tori. I think I'll go ahead and start it off with, the main point we really want to get across and why we really wanted to bring this book out for college students is because job searching really is, as you said, a process. It's a process that doesn't just take, a few days or a week unless you're extremely lucky. It takes a while and to get the right job. And so you want to start as soon as possible to really reduce your stress and keep you from taking just any job out of, desperation for needing the money. So to try and start early and really work on it ongoing and to not get defeated, I think is really important, especially in today's job market. And Betsy, you want to take?
Absolutely. The process. I love the word choice of a process, and even when you find your first job, for those folks who are looking to move on in your career, it's sort of a never-ending process, and I don't think we want to share that to frustrate people or give them an additional burden, but just to make folks aware that the more that you use your social media presence to manifest your brand, and the more that you use your beautiful networking skills to keep your network viable, the easier all of your career transitions are going to be.
Right.
So using social network, because using the social networking process, some people say it's a bad thing and some people say it's a good thing. Some people are not really fluent in the language of social networking. So what is the basic level that someone would have to accomplish in order for them to start? Because once you start dabbling in something like social networking, you're going to acquire the skills because, you're just going to need to do a particular thing and you'll find out how to do it. But some people are afraid of social networking. What do you say to those folks?
Yeah, and it's interesting because I hear that a lot, especially from students who already have so much to do, but of course all of us are busy. Is social networking good or is it bad? And unfortunately, the good or bad is somewhat irrelevant now. I've seen statistics that up to about 90% and even a little bit more of recruiters are using social networks like Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter when to try and decide who to hire. And if they can't find you at all, unfortunately, you might drop lower in the pile. And so it's really important to your job search to just make yourself findable. And the network I generally recommend for that is LinkedIn. It's a really easy network to set up. It takes less, updating. It's not quite as social as the others. And it's really showing the best representation of yourself through not only your positions and what you think you're good at, but other people recommending you and endorsing you on certain skills. And so that would be my number one if you're using social networking for the job search. I think LinkedIn is your first place to go.
Right. LinkedIn, I agree with you. I agree with you very much. I notice there's some folks that they probably tapped into LinkedIn, logged in, but then they never really updated. So if you guys are out there and you have that LinkedIn account, and you probably will have to get your password again or reset your password. But as far as the job hunting or job search process goes, LinkedIn is one of the best tools that you can have. I would use it as an anchor. Wouldn't you say?
I agree. Absolutely. And this is Betsy. I have a story from this morning, ladies. You're going to love this. As a professor, I have a lot of folks who call me and share with me job openings that perhaps my students would like, or perhaps even some of my alumni that have been out for a while. And I was on the phone this morning with an executive recruiter who had a couple of positions open. And I said, I have someone I would like you to talk to. And I gave her the name. And while I'm on the phone, this recruiter looked up this person on LinkedIn, and this person only had 7 connections. And it didn't do a lot for validating my words that said that this person is really connected in the community. And while she'll probably still get a phone call and have a conversation, it would have obviously been a lot better for everybody if this person had kept up with her account and had done the things necessary to beef up your LinkedIn account. So I don't know if, she's going to get a call for an interview or not, but that could have just killed it right there because of LinkedIn.
But you know what, the thing is that, we have to remember that technology can't replace the reality of interaction. Mm-hmm. Just because she only had 7 connections on LinkedIn doesn't necessarily mean that she only has 7 connections in the community.
Exactly.
Right, exactly. So, hopefully that recruiter will go forward and meet the person. You can't make a decision based on just the data on what the technology gives you or that the paper reads. That's why you have an interview. Otherwise, you just send it, get the resume or read the resume on the computer and then send the offer. You wouldn't even bother with an interview. So I hope that they actually called your student or the person that you recommended and got to meet them first.
Yeah, me too. I hope so too. And of course, Betsy, with your recommendation, if she comes in, really high. But unfortunately, with the job search, especially for impacted positions, you can only set yourself up more for success by checking up on your name on social networks and just in search engines in general. Just Google yourself. See what people will find. I mean, that's so important because if it's a bad article, if it's something you don't want people to find, get it offline as quickly as possible. If there's a lot of resumes, of course, you may want to call a bunch of them, but you want to just be at the top of that pile. And the best way to do that is just to check it out every once in a while and make sure that you have the best representation of yourself online.
Very good advice. Well, when we return, we're going to see if age plays a factor in your job search today. We'll be right back. picking up the kids from practice, working late, or maybe you have a date? Oh no, you're going to miss the first run show of Maslow Woman Live. No problem. You can catch all of our broadcasts on demand. Just visit MaslowWomanLive.com. That's MaslowWomanLive.com. See you there. Welcome back. You're listening to Reinventing Yourself in Today's Job Market. This is Maslow Woman Live and Dr. Louise Richey. I'm being joined today by Betsy Hayes and Tori Terhune. Welcome back, ladies.
Thank you.
We were about to discuss age, the age factor. So what's going on with the age factor these days? Is there age discrimination going on? Is it anybody's game? Is experience outweighing youth? What's going on in today's market?
Yeah, and unfortunately what a lot of people are seeing and what the trend has been in the last few years with the economic downturn is a lot of the younger, college student age kids are actually getting picked up quicker than the older crowd. They're cheaper and they are more in with, things that are going on and the social media things and all of that. But what I try to say is job searching is really the same whether you're 18 or you're 50. You're trying to get the same point across. Again, you want to show the best representation of yourself. A great way to do that is through social media. So if you don't understand it, you might want to take some more time to get brushed up. But I've known, 65-year-olds that know social media better than some college students. Not everyone's, that stereotype isn't always true.
No, you're right. There are some that are really and they're better than me. Even I'm learning stuff from them. It's amazing.
Right. I was speaking to a college student, a college class, a couple weeks ago, and I was just going through some quick points about, ways to be successful on Twitter, and I'm just kind of running through some points thinking, this is all really basic stuff, and all of a sudden a girl raises her hand and says, well, I've never used Twitter. I don't have a Twitter account, and I have no idea what you're talking about. And I said, oh, that's right. Not everyone does this, and I had to kind of backpedal. So it is a stereotype that even I, fall to, and just thinking that they all understand it, which is not true. So it may be a little tougher for the older crowd to prove that they really know what they're talking about than easier on the younger crowd, but it's really good for you to show that you understand the trends and what's going on. And then other than that, though, really the same thing. You want to have the best representation of yourself, a really robust resume, a great cover letter, and you really want to show why that company needs you, not why you need them, and why they should pay you a lot for what you're doing. And so that's what I always try to get across.
Well, you guys are saying that social media is so impactful in the job search. They give us some examples. So how does somebody really use social media besides something like LinkedIn? Is there another secret passage, another secret way to, get into the loop, into the network? Is there something more, or is basically what you've told us already is what people need to start working on?
Well, the top 3 networks I really see used by recruiters is LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. Those are just the top 3 that most people are on, so they tend to be used the most. But, the Wall Street Journal came out, I believe it was a couple weeks ago, with, the Twitter resume, and about Twitter and your resume being 140 characters and trying to get jobs through that. And the Wall Street Journal reported that not as many recruiters are using Twitter as Facebook and LinkedIn. So, it just depends on really your industry, too. Graphic design.
Yeah. That's true.
You want to use Pinterest or Instagram more. If you're a video buff, obviously YouTube is your channel. So you kind of need to decide what's best for you specifically, because every network has pros and cons. But I generally recommend trying to pick 2, maybe 3, where you can really, connect with your audience and connect with your network and really go all out versus trying to just join 10 networks and talk to everyone, because you just can't be successful that way. There's too much going on, and you might miss things. So deciding which ones are best for you, picking those top 2 or 3, and then really researching the sites, finding what your audience wants, what your network wants, what other people like. You are tweeting what your competition's doing or Facebook posting or YouTubing, and just trying to trial and error. No one's an expert at this yet. Social media is still new, and finding what works for you the best.
So it's interesting what you're saying, which makes an awful lot of sense, because in the light of, if you're a video or media person, then YouTube does make sense, or something like Pinterest if you're a photographer. Okay? These are things that people need to kind of hear, because sometimes, making that transition from the Stone Age paper, ink and paper, to the computer, people don't make the connection. You have a photographer out there that's still running around giving out business cards rather than tapping into something like Pinterest or Instagram. Okay, so it's very interesting, that Tori brought that up as, different avenues. So basically, the sky's the limit into how you can be creative enough to find yourself a niche.
Exactly, yeah, and Pinterest especially, I'll just go into this a little bit because I find this really interesting. Pinterest has caught this stereotype of being, wedding planning and designing your house and things to do for your kids' birthday parties, and that's what a lot of people think Pinterest is really about. But Pinterest is starting to get a wider audience, and there are men, not a lot, but there are men on Pinterest now, and they're posting about, tech gadgets and men's fashion even. And I've actually started using Pinterest for my personal, blog and sharing, and I've had quite a bit of engagement from it. So people are looking for other types of content on Pinterest now, and if you really want to jump in and be at the forefront of that, I think it's a great idea. And my sister is a senior at Cal Poly Pomona this year, and she's graduating, and I told her, you really want to get out on Pinterest and be, at the forefront of this, start talking about work. I mean, that's a great way to not only show that you care about fashion, but just that, you care about professionalism. And if a recruiter's looking at your Pinterest page, they'll say, oh, she really does care about looking professional. And that's just, it only helps your brand.
I don't know if it was Betsy. You tell me if it was you that was telling me about using Pinterest as a visionary board, a self-visionary board. So because you can have your board private or you can have them public. Was it you, Betsy?
It wasn't. I'm a fan of that, though. I have read articles about how folks are using that, as electronic vision board. Oprah made vision boards so popular, several years ago, and I have one. In fact, I'm looking at it right now in my office. It's the foam core, right, and all the pictures from a magazine. But the idea about having, a private vision board on Pinterest is fun because then it's with you all the time. And you are able to add to it much more easily than the old-fashioned, cut and paste. But, it's so fun. And that's one of the things that both Tori and I love about social media is the customability, the fact that you can which I'm not even sure is a word, but you can customize the experience to whatever you want it to be, which is fun. But what I love about all of this and why it helps so much in the job search is you can expand your sphere of influence and take the things that you're passionate about and share them with other folks. Tori was mentioning her sister CJ and the fashion for work. That's her thing, and she always does look so cute and so professional, and that's, something she loves both personally and professionally. So it's no work for her to share that knowledge. And everyone kind of has their thing. Maybe someone is real interested in, presentations and doing cool things with graphics. So that could be what they would share with the world via social media. And someone else might really like, spreadsheets and cool things with Excel, which I know nothing about, but I would love to learn from someone. And so it gives you more people to visit with about what you love and what you're good at.
That's very, very interesting. You want to add to that, Tori?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And as, trend-wise, we're going more and more visual, more and more pictures. And now Twitter, has released Vine, which is 6 seconds of video that you can tweet out, and you just express your 6 seconds of video. So it's quick images that people can connect with and engage And so the more visual we go, the better, which is why Pinterest is really taking off, Instagram is really taking off, and Twitter's trying to follow up with Vine. So if you can tie your industry or your specific personal brand to something visual, then I say go for it.
Okay. Sounds really good. So, resumes and cover letters, are they no longer important, or are we having to redesign them electronically, pictorially?
Well, I'd say resumes are still important from the standpoint that when you're going to a career fair, you really need to have something in your hand. I think resumes are changing. I think they are becoming, again, more visual. A lot of people have switched over to what's called an infographic, which, is just a visual display of your information with graphs and pictures. People that aren't quite as adventurous are just starting to use color and maybe their headshot, just trying to make it stand out from the normal black and white pages that, we don't really necessarily interact with anymore now that we're all online. And whether or not you print it out, I think it's still good to have one. I still get asked, even after I've been hired, just to send one to the HR company, and I've done the same when I've hired people, just to have that paperwork there. It's still tradition, and I don't know if that will go away soon or ever, but it is becoming less important with the increase in social media. That was actually, again, talking about my sister who's in college and on the job search. Actually, she just got her first job. But when she was applying, nobody really asked for her resume. They asked for her LinkedIn account. And so she had business cards where she would just hand that out with the URL on it. And so I think I don't think they'll ever necessarily go away. And, cover letters, people still want cover letters through email, so they're more through emails. So I think those really still do play a part in your job search, but they are shifting, definitely.
So in other words, they're fading. Soon you'll be able to just scan your information from your phone to the employer. Just like, you want it, and scan it right into their phone or into their computer. That's actually something.
Yeah, and they actually do. There's a site that does that. They have an online business card, and it's and then if you have a QR code, then you can scan the QR code, and they have all of your professional information. So, it's definitely shifting. Of course, not everyone is as up to date with social media, especially some of the small businesses, mom and pops. It depends on where you want to work. But if you're looking at, getting up in corporations and companies, it's really where it's shifting.
Wow, that's very, very interesting. Betsy, this is like, it's interesting and it's exciting. This is almost like Star Trek kind of stuff, right? You're not even going to need paper anymore. You're just going to be digitized. Oh yes, I'll telepathically send you my resume. Wow.
Yeah. I know, it's so fun. But what I love, again, about the electronic piece is the reach, right? You can, before you had to, mail or hand out your resume. Now I have students, sharing the links to their e-portfolios to these prospective employers, and that's how they're getting these follow-up interviews. And what's fun is these interviews are happening via Skype. I had a student, she actually is interviewing for an internship with TMZ, which will be kind of an adventure down in Los Angeles. And she got the interview by sending the link to her e-portfolio, which is essentially was their just electronic version of what we used to carry around physical portfolios, with the zipper, and you would flip through the page protectors, right, with all our stuff. Well, now everybody, I'm having everybody put it online. So she sent the link, got the interview, and then the lady said, I don't want you to drive to L.A. That's goofy. Why don't we interview via Skype so we can see each other and do it interpersonally? Isn't that fun? And so I can't wait till Monday when I see her, because the interview actually is happening right now via Skype, so we'll send good thoughts her way to see, what happened.
Let's give her a shout-out of good luck.
Yes, her name is Dana. Yeah, good luck, Dana.
Good luck, Dana. Oh, this is just wonderful. and say this is all that some people know about this, and just as many people have no idea. But talking about it, even just throwing it out casually, will give somebody an idea. A light bulb will come on, and the person will say, hey, I could use that, or I never thought of that, Now, is it appropriate for the employee, the candidate, to suggest using something like Skype?
You definitely can. Sorry?
Mm-hmm. I said, what about etiquette in this world of electronics? Because, there have to be a set of etiquette rules when it comes to electronic versus, paper and, face-to-face.
Yeah, and I think it definitely depends. Obviously, if you're states away and it's just the first interview, you might want to mention either phone or Skype, just to see face-to-face. But the more that you can make the effort and really show that you're dedicated and want that job, the better. So I still really tell people face-to-face, you get the the body not communication, and you can see the leaning in and the leaning out, and it's better. Even Betsy and I, we live far away from each other, and we've had to write a whole book. And we do Skype meetings back and forth. There are so many tech issues. The sound goes out. The video breaks down. You're already nervous interviewing, and so you don't want to add more stress to yourself. So the more I can encourage people to go face-to-face, the better. But technology is great, and it's awesome, and it's amazing that we can do that now, especially if you're looking to move, across the country. But still face-to-face, I think, is better.
Great. Well, before we go on break, I'm going to ask you to give your best advice for first-time versus repeat or senior job seekers.
Who's going to go first? It's a tough question. There's, again, we kind of talked about, the 18-year-old versus the 50-year-old, and that it's really the same thing. You're still looking for, having the resume, having the cover letter, making sure that what they find about you online is what you want them to find. I generally do tell the younger ones, just because they think you know social media doesn't mean that you do, so make sure that you do a little bit of research about the company and know their use in that area in case they ask you. And then for the older crowd, to just really try and show how hip and with the trends you are, and making sure that they understand that you understand it. You're not sleeping under a log. You know the main sites, and you know how to post to Facebook and how to post to Twitter, and just the basic things, so that you aren't irrelevant, I guess is what I should say.
Right. And you're willing to learn too. I think that's one of the things that sometimes more seasoned professionals have trouble with, because they're supposed to be the experts, they're supposed to be the ones with experience and have all the answers, but having just that air about you that hey, I know a lot of things, however I also realize that the world is changing very quickly, and I am happy to learn new things and to grow my skill set, and I am just as willing to be a student of the industry as someone who is 22. I think that attitude goes a long way for the seasoned professional.
Yeah, and speaking as a 20-something, still important when you're 20-something to show that you're willing to learn. Even if you think you know it all, eat a little humble pie and go in there willing to learn and to listen to everyone else. Even if you think you know better, you don't, honestly. And I've witnessed that myself, and it's been growing moments. And just to understand that there are people that know a lot more than you do. And at 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, you think you know the world, and just not quite yet.
All right. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Moving on, leaving the dead behind. I'm going forward into the light. Not gonna think, I'm just gonna be staying focused, not discouraged, believing in the God in me, because I've got a space to breathe. a time to live, a time to die, a time to laugh, a time to cry. My time is now, gonna live like it's my last. Celebrate me. Oh, I'm celebrating me. Oh, yes, I'm celebrating me.
Are you looking for great pictures and graphics for your personal and professional needs? Digital Mist Designs offers premium professional photography and graphic design services. Owner Jihan Grant specializes in branding identities such as logos and business card designs. Her photo sessions for engagement, glamour and fashion, and portrait work are to die for. For your photography and digital needs, remember Digital Mist Designs. Contact Jihan, that's Jihan, at digitalmistdesigns.com.
Welcome back. We're back with Betsy and Tori. And I wanted to just give you guys a chance to, before we move on to branding and some other points about the job market and job search, I would like to ask you guys to tell us how your book is doing, because the last time we had Betsy on the show, the book hadn't even been released yet. It was released March 21st, and so that has come and passed. So tell us about, what's going on, any book signings coming up, just catch us up.
Well, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's been great. It's been a little bit of a whirlwind, actually, and book sales are doing well. We're having really good monthly sales now that we've been out almost 2 months-ish. But it's great. We're on the Kindle and the Nook. You can get it on Amazon.com. We've had 2 book signings already, both in California. None planned in the immediate future, but we're definitely open if there's any bookstores out there that want us to come in. We love doing it. It was a total blast. My hand was exhausted. I don't know about Betsy's, but it was so much fun. And
you need to get a stamp. Why are you still doing that? Why are you still doing it the old-fashioned way in this electronic age?
I know, right? We're so archaic. No, it was really so much fun, and we were actually, blessed enough to be on a couple of broadcast shows and have been speaking on the book topic, and so I think it's been doing great, and just so happy, and looking at another book coming out now in spring 2014 officially. So really excited about that.
Very good. Very good. Betsy, you happy about it?
Oh, yeah, it's been so much fun, and it was so sweet because just 2 weeks after the book came out, I was giving a talk to some of our honors students on campus, and a student who I just know a very little bit came up to me and said, all right, I read it, I'm done reading it, and I have a big to-do list, but I'm pretty excited, and I just wanted to thank you.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. Congratulations, you guys.
Thank you.
So tell us about branding, because branding seems to be not just for General Mills anymore. It's for people, too.
Yeah, and that's really one of the best things you can do for yourself when you're job hunting is to consider yourself a brand. And as Tori has mentioned, you want to represent, just like General Mills wants to represent the best of themselves to their customers, we need to represent the best of ourselves to our potential employers. And so, there's a whole chapter in the book on figuring out what the heck your brand is and what you would like it to be. And I love to have people think about, well, what do folks say about me when I have left the room? Because that's really what they think. And so a really good exercise is to say, all right, well, what do I want people to say about me when I leave the room, and how can I work toward making that a reality?
Very true. We just want to let that soak in, people.
I know, it's kind of down. It's bad, yeah. And then, so work on filling those gaps, right? So if you want people to think, certain things about you and have certain words and adjectives in their minds relating to you, what can you do to make that happen? How can you present yourself? What sort of behaviors are associated with that brand that you want?
Right.
Make sure you check all of your social media posts. And, what Tori and I teach to folks all the time is before you post, ask yourself, does this build my brand? And if it doesn't, delete it.
So basically it's everything. Okay, when you're building your brand, it's kind of like, Miss America, she can't have a spot in her record. So even with networking helps build your brand. And branding helps build your networking. It's cyclical.
Definitely. Well, and I was listening to someone speak a couple weeks ago, and he said, your personal brand, now with technology, has the same power as Apple. I mean, you can go and buy yourname.com and have the same real estate that apple.com has. You can work on making your keywords really important in your specific content on both your social networks, and if you have a website or blog, that's great. And those keywords, when people search for you, that puts you up in the Google search. So you have that same spot that Apple does. It's really interesting because companies pay a lot of money for it, and you can have, it's no longer billboards where you have to pay $1 million plus to have, commercials or billboards or any of that. It's much easier and cheaper for you to now have a really prominent space.
Wow. That's good to know. I'm going to take us back to your book. Betsy did tell us a little bit of she told us a lot about how you guys decided to write the book, but this audience may not have heard it. Some people are rejoining us, so they probably have heard it, but I'm pretty sure that they wouldn't mind hearing it again. So I want to go back to the book, since the book is out and, want it to continue to do well. Recap again how you wrote the book together, how you decided to just give us a story from, how it started, basically what you wanted to convey through this book, what was your mission behind the book, and, how well did you guys work together? Give us the skinny.
Well, it was really fun. And so the answer to the last question is, and that's an interesting one, and I'm glad that you asked that because, Tori, I don't know if you have gotten that question a lot, but I get asked a lot, well, how did you write the book with someone? And wasn't that hard? And to be honest with you, and, obviously, Tori, you can answer and see if you concur, but that part was easy, and maybe it's just because our visions for this content are so similar. But having the chapters mesh as far as vision and content and collaboration, that was really beautiful and very easy. And we're both, pretty type A organized folks, and that helped keep, we put together a schedule and had deadlines, and we sort of divide and conquered the content, and we reviewed each other's stuff and added to it, and that, I think, made it fun. Tori sent me her chapter, and I read it and went, oh, this is so good, but, hey, I've got a story, too. And she did the same thing with me. Oh, that's great, but you know what? I've got a story that can help illustrate this point. And so we just sort of went in and out of each other's content, and that was very fun. And technology was also fun, and that was fun for me because, we did have all of our meetings over Skype, and we used different technology so we could share each other's computer screens when we were in the final editing process. And so it really felt sort of cutting edge the way we went through that development.
Well, and I actually think writing a book with someone else makes it so much easier, actually. There's a collaboration there, and we don't both know everything, but I know a lot about some things, and Betsy knows a lot about some other things. So we were able to really focus in on what we each knew a lot about and give the best information that we could. And then, again, we read each other's chapters, added extra little thoughts and tips. If you read the book, it says Betsy Hayes, or Professor Hayes says, and Tori says, to give different opinions. And the chapters really are written in each of our voices and go back and forth. Each chapter says whether it's from me or Betsy. And, we've always had a really great professional working experience that turned into an amazing friendship. And, we've even talked about that. It's just we are really honest with each other, and that's been a great way to keep it easy.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I was really fascinated by that story, and I remember telling Betsy, it's a nice hook too. Professor and student writes a book together. It's a wonderful hook, and very interesting story to bring forward when you're telling about the inception of this project.
Right, and I think it's important because if you have just a professor or a professional write the book, it's like, well, great, of course they know how to get a job. They have one, but they haven't done it in this economic crisis. But then if I were to just go write a book, it's like, well, I just graduated. What do I know? But having both aspects, I think, really helped our point and has been a great, like you said, a great hook for it, a great reason for people to be interested, and I think why a lot more people are interested in the book.
Mm-hmm. So I wanted to say, too, that the book, the title of the book, and I want to tell the audience, the title of the book may be misleading because it's talking about taking the necessary steps. The title conveys taking the necessary steps essentially before you graduate from college. So I'd like you guys, I'd like the audience to hear from you guys that this book is not only targeted for folks that are in college.
Absolutely. There's so much in there. In fact, one of my office mate, my colleague at Fresno State who I share an office with, bless her heart, she went to the book signing and bought all these books and is giving them out as all these gifts to folks. And she went home and read it after the book signing and called me and said, this is for everyone who wants to be successful. and And it was so sweet because, that, was a third party comment. That's not, just, but we believe that too, that it really has so much, particularly the beautiful chapter on using social media and making you an expert that Tori wrote, and the networking chapter, where it talks about how business cards are not dead, they're just used differently now, and that's one of my favorite parts of that chapter, and how to, have these wonderful foundational things for all professional success.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So the senior folks, I think that chapter on the social media is worth the book alone. It's worth the cost of the book alone, because that's so invaluable. It's like a cornerstone in today's process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And, we've talked a lot about that, this past hour. It's just social media, whether you like it or not, and you can have your opinion. I happen to love it, but that's just my opinion. It's unfortunately becoming irrelevant in this technological world, in today's job market. It's becoming more of a necessity. And, business cards and resumes are phasing or changing or maybe even shifting out, and the LinkedIn and your Facebook and whatever network you decide to use are becoming more prominent. And, we wrote the book specifically for college students because there isn't a book out there for college students about this. It's after you've graduated what you can do. And unfortunately, at that point, if you have no experience except for what you've done in class and you haven't been working on your network, it's a little bit too little too late. And it takes a really long time for you to be able to get a job that you really want. And fortunately for the older crowd out there, or just the non-college crowd, you might already have that network and have that experience. And so there are different parts in this book that would be tailored toward that reader. And we use the specific examples for college students in some parts of the book, but, as Betsy's office mate said, there are plenty of, points in there that would be great for anyone.
For anyone. Well, before we go, I would like to ask you guys one more question. You mentioned that there's another book coming that we can expect in 2014. Are you willing, or can you give us a little preview of what the book might be about? This is an exclusive, guys, on Mad Woman Live.
It is. Yeah.
Breaking news, yes. Yeah. We literally signed the contract. Actually, we don't even have the countersigned contract yet. That's how new this is. But yeah, Tori, go ahead. And then,
wow, that's really breaking news.
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
it's in the mail, so we know it's for sure happening. That's why we can talk about it. But
it's breaking news that we can't confirm completely yet, so we'll let you know. Confirmation.
But yes, they're going to sell it as a companion book. It's a part 2. So now that you have this job, you've graduated, you're on cloud 9, so excited. Now what? You don't have teachers. You don't have semesters. You don't have summer. You're sitting at the kids' table. Do you live with your parents to save money? All these issues that recent college students have to deal with, because all of a sudden you're expected to be a grown-up, and there isn't a whole lot of training out there for that. And that holistic change from student and going and partying all the time, sometimes some college students, or just having homework until 3 in the morning, to going from working from 8 to 5 and not having anything from 5 to midnight, which is actually a big reason why I was interested in doing this book. I had so much downtime when I graduated. I had no idea what to do with myself, and it's a big transition. And Betsy coined the phrase, and I love it, for our generation, this young generation, the millennials, the validation vacuum. We're growing up, we all got trophies for everything. Now on social media, I have people liking me all the time. I need that. I feed off of that. And unfortunately in the workforce, it's very rare to have that. Your bosses don't thank you for everything you do. And so how to deal with that and still feel good about yourself and produce good work on your own without grades, and to make that transition successfully.
Well, thank you, guys. This has been a wonderful, wonderful interview and discussion. I think that you've helped the audience very much. I'd like to encourage the audience to tap into landyourdreamcareer.com and get your copy of Land Your Dream Career. 11 steps to take in college. But remember, it's not just for people in college getting ready for work to get a job. It's for everybody who wants to improve their chances of securing a position that's a true fit. Did I do it justice?
Mhm.
Well, thank you, Betsy. Thank you, Tori. Again, it's a pleasure to have you again on the show, Betsy, and it's a pleasure to meet you and have you on the show, Tori. And I hope we are able to do something like this again.
Thank you.
Okay, when you guys are surfing the web, make sure that you follow us on